Hey guys, in today's video, we are going to be doing a barn find revival of this Super G Plus. So this car actually is, aside from it not running, it does have some pretty cool features that I enjoy, which is going to be gold rims. And it also has the double dot gray magnets, and it has a rear axle retainer, which I don't know if this was an American thing or if this was only Japanese spec, but this retainer actually keeps the rear end from popping out of the car. So you have to remove that to get the axle out. In modern day stuff, we call it a pinned rear end, where we use little axle pins. But this was, I believe, a factory thing. So we'll kind of just break this thing down and look it over. So it's pretty filthy. That's obvious. It's been used. The rear tires are completely dry rotted. You can see that one. If I open it up, it looks like probably 80% of your hands do right now. So, you know, yeah, they get old and cracked up. Nothing to be ashamed of. But we're going to go ahead and pop this rear axle clip off here. So it slides off the back like so. And you can see it's a little stainless piece. It's kind of a, pretty interesting piece. It's all formed and precision made. This thing, it was probably stamped and then went through a series of brake form operations. But we're going to pull the rear axle out of this thing. As you can see, thing's nasty. There's grease, there's hair, there's carpet, a bunch of nasty stuff on there. The front, we'll leave that on there for now just because it doesn't really matter that much. But yeah, it's mission and pickup shoe and a spring, and it has a dirty, rusty guide pin in it. So a couple of things. I mean, these cars were really like, the Tyco was a dominant car, and that platform was dominant. But when this thing came out, it was like totally different. It raced by itself. The whole platform was different, and all of today's modern cars are based on this platform. So the long magnet, the motor setup where it is, the pickup shoe setup the way that it is, everything has evolved from this. So but we're not going to dig too deep into it. We're just going to try to get it running. So we do need a pickup shoe. I do have kind of some old stuff that's laying around. This is just kind of my old Super G Plus stuff. This actually was a car that I used to race in like 2010. And this car is probably, it's kind of pilfered right now, but this car is probably one of the most expensive slot cars that I have. And the reason for that is because so many cars were bought to get the parts that are on this car that had to remain stock per the rules we were racing against, which to me, I'm pretty anti those types of rules. Just because of mass-produced stuff, you have all different types of magnets that fit differently. I could go on and on about that. I'll probably do a video on why racing stock slot cars sucks and why it's the most expensive and the worst for our hobby. Probably be another video. But anyways, we need a pickup shoe and a spring out of here. So this shoe is a stepped shoe. So there was a couple of different iterations over the years. You can see this pickup shoe has a much longer contact pad than that one. So that was one iteration. And there was also, shoot, I don't think I have any of them. So it looks like we're going to have to use that guy on there. I don't have another one to show you. Maybe one of these other cars has it on them. I don't know. But we need that, and we need a spring, which obviously we could put Viper stuff in this one, but for this video, we're just going to get this thing running with its own family of parts. I always like to set the shoe on flat and then push it back and in. That does make me want to point out something, that if I slide this forward, that thing can pop right out and it'll come right off, which that's kind of a flaw in these hangers. And you can see too how high that pickup shoe hanger is sitting in relation to the chassis. If we are building this into a high performance version, we would definitely want to either remove some material or we would fold that forward. I probably would do both. If the rules allowed for it to use aftermarket hangers, I would just swap those out, put some Viper ones on there and call it good. But we're gonna get these shoes cleaned up. Man, nothing like the smell of some varnished shoes. And then we are going to oil this guy and we'll run it on the block and we'll see if the old beast runs. So this one has something else that's notable. It has a gray pinion, which is made out of nylotron, so that's a different material than the black pinion. There was a lot of iterations of this thing made. I mean, there was the gray chassis, which is a nylotron chassis, much better than the black chassis. This black chassis, they were notorious for being cracked in the package. The guide pins would split the chassis in half. The magnet area right here would break. I mean, we probably have, I don't know, these are all actually pretty nice versions of this car. So I don't even know if I can show you a bad example, but I have seen some really, really bad. Well, here's one right here. So this car is brand new. Okay, came out of the package just filleted. I mean, and they just sent them like that, you know. A lot of people thought that happened in the packaging. It didn't happen in the packaging. It happened at whatever stage they installed a guide pin, and they just sent it. And that, honestly, and I'm not going to name what company out there has a lot of that stuff and started their whole brand by servicing broken Tomy stuff. But if Tomy covered that under warranty, you send it back to this manufacturer that's not Tomy, and Tomy sends you a new car. That manufacturer breaks down the car. They have all these parts except for a chassis. If you were doing that, if you were that company, what would you make first? Maybe a chassis? I don't know. But there's a lot of that. That's why the N-Bell, the magnets, a lot of those parts still available from a couple of different manufacturers. But just thought that I'd point that out. But this thing now has oil. We're gonna go ahead and voodoo it just because you guys know that we love the voodoo. Get a bunch in there and we'll put it on the stand, and it's alive. So this thing, the last time this thing probably ran was probably year 2000. So around it's a millennium car. Sounds pretty good. Moving on to the rear end. This thing, the tires are roached. So, I mean, we're just going to break these things off of here. Oh, it's so gross. Look at that thing. So that thing's smoked. That one is too. I mean, they're just crumbling off of there. There's nothing you can do for that. Something that's unique on these cars that they did back then was they did this kind of internal double flange rim so that they could run a tire that was kind of a unique tire. So it was kind of like an inner flange to keep the tires from popping off. Super cool. They did it also so that it still looked, we're going to get some better tires out of here. They did it so that it looked to scale still, because if you look at the way our current double flange wheels are, a lot of times you lose like the cool look of the rim. So the scale look or the custom look, you kind of lose that. But the downside to it is that every single one of these things that somebody wanted to put a set of tires on, they would immediately have to change the rear rims. you know, which is fine for the manufacturers and whatnot. But like most average people, like they don't have the press, they don't have the tools to make those changes. So I think that if it was a rim setup more like the Tyco, this thing is being a pain in the hole to get off here. I mean, the fact too that these are that hard to get off, they kind of did that. Whoa, they kind of did that also so that, you know, kids weren't swallowing and choking on these things, you know, because you got to remember these things were designed to be sold in toy stores as a kid's toy. But yeah, if they would have made the rim though more like a Tyco, I feel like it would have been a lot easier for people to swap out stuff. But we're gonna put those tires on there. This thing actually feels just, it's mega tight, and that's because all of this gunk that's in there. So we are gonna have to clean some of that out of there. My go-to on that is always an X-Acto knife. Okay, we're gonna go ahead. Oh man, this is just like it's just a massive wad of just grossness. All carpet fibers, maybe some other materials that could contain some DNA, like Redbeard got in here. I mean, it's just the more that I pick it, the more it's coming unwound. So it's totally gross. But I'm just going to move it to the outside so that we can snap this guy back in here. It's still just mega tight. So if that doesn't spin super free, yeah, I mean, it just doesn't feel good at all. The gears really don't really feel that good either, but we're gonna just run it and see how it sounds. So it sounds okay, but I can tell it's definitely laboring, which is not ideal. Gotta get some of this crap out of here. But you know, I think that for this one, we're just gonna pop another rear end in it because it's too gross. So this one here, a little bit later version, but it just right away spins so much nicer. So now we can go run this guy around the track. Let's go see how it runs. Actually, I almost forgot. We got to put our rear clip on. Our rear axle retainer. This thing can be kind of funky to put on there. You just want to make sure that you're not tweaking anything, because once it gets tweaked, you can kind of fight it. But it's on there. Traction mags. Everything else looks good from the bottom. So let's go run on the track. Okay guys, we've got the Super G Plus barn find here at the track. We did have to change the rear end in it, so it's not 100% as it was found. We also had to add a pickup shoe, but we're on the test track, and car seems fine. Super fast, super crash. Won't take that wide open, which the only reason I try to run that wide open is because on this voltage, sometimes it can handle it. But pretty much a great runner. Big crash, big crash. But a lap like that, if you want to video my finger, Sam, doing work, maybe from this side, this is kind of, it's kind of what a fast lap looks like. You're definitely, if you're just holding it in one spot, that's about as fast as you can go before the car starts to come off the track. So there is a big difference between hustling the car and, like right there, it actually came off. I heard the car go quiet and I heard it slap back down. So that's like what I would say, putting it on the edge. And a lot of times, I mean, people just think that you're just doing that. What's the fun in that, you know? But A lot of this too, for this voltage, putting some other parts on this to make it better would obviously be better. Or if it had the body on it, you wouldn't be able to run it nearly as hard. But yeah, I mean, another one back on the track. That's what we like to do. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. We'll see you on the next one.